welcome to another video. If you're new to this series, let me tell you how it works. I listen to albums throughout the week, some new albums, some older albums. I pick the ones I want to give my opinion on and review them in this video. Remember, my opinion is mine and mine only. You may have a different opinion, so don't take anything I say too seriously. Let's head on to the first album of today's video. The first album of today's video will be Bo Jackson by Boldy James and The Alchemist. In all reality, this was a beautiful album. This album had multiple good songs. I even considered making this one of the standout albums of the week. The production was amazing. The singing, rapping, whatever the fuck you want to call it, was also done very well. So credit to Boldy James on that. My two standout songs on this album are To Pertaining and Steel Wool. Next is Continuance by Curren and The Alchemist. This was a lyrically great album, so of course credit to Curren for that. Just like any other Alchemist album that I've reviewed in the past, the production was amazing, no questions about it. This album also had many good songs on it, and for only being a 38-minute album, they did an amazing job keeping the listener hooked on the entire project the entire time. My two standout songs from this album are No Yeast and Corvette Rally Stripes. Next is Freewave 3 by LUCKI. This album was produced very well, so good job to whoever the producer was on this project. It also had some good songs. In my opinion, this album was heavily carried by the production. My standout song from this album is All In. Next, as promised from last week, is Melt by Not For Radio. This was an amazing album. It was a project you could tell was something Maria put a lot of hard work and love into this album. She should be super proud of what she made. I could not name you one bad thing about this album. Production was great. Lyrics were great. My standout songs from this album are Moment, Back to You, Not the Only One, and Huertas. Next is Donny Womack by Toliver. This was a good album and it had many great songs on it. I think this was his debut album mixtape, but it was amazing. My four standout songs from this album are Diva, Hold Still, Too Low Shorty, and Video Girl. Next is Heaven or Hell by Toliver, and this was another great album by him. I'm pretty sure this was his first album under a Cactus Jack record label, so this was a perfect debut for both himself and the first album under Cactus Jack. And for himself, I mean, this is his debut album. So the last one was a mixtape, this was his debut album. This album was also produced very nicely, so good job to whoever produced it. My three standout songs from this album are Euphoria, After Party, and Can't Feel My Legs. And for After Party, I didn't know that was Toliver that made that song, bro. That song is corded down in my fucking memory for TikTok music. So when I found out he's the one that made it, shock. Genuine shock. Next is the highly anticipated album of Deadbeat by Tame Impala. Of course, just like any other album that I hear not a release, I will be back next week with a deeper-ish review. First thoughts, though, this album was perfect. I am happy I bought the vinyl and I can't wait to hold this album in my hands. Even though I will be back next week with a deeper-ish review, I do have some standout songs, and they are My Old Ways, Dracula, and Piece of Heaven. The next album I heard on night of release as well was Tycoon by TY Dolla. I will be back next week with a deeper-ish review. Of course, first thoughts, this album was amazing, and this plus the Tame Impala album was so worth staying up to like 2:30 in the morning listening to these albums. Even though, just like the previous one, I will be back with a deeper-ish review next week. I do have some standout songs, and by some I mean 6. They are December 31st, All In, Twitch, On Repeat, Mixed Emotions, and I Wish. And finally, the last album is Passion, Pain, and Demon Slayin by Cudi. This album was another amazing album. It was also beautifully produced. It had many great songs and many more great beats. My standout songs from this album are Swim in the Light, By Design, All In, Rose Golden, Baptized in Fire, and Surfing. And yes, both Tycoon and Passion, Pain, and Demon Slayin both had a song that I liked called All In. I had to do a double take when writing the script because I thought I was going crazy. Now it's time for the honorable mentions and why they ended up on honorable mentions. The first one will be Rapper's Best Friend 6 by The Alchemist. This ended up on honorable mentions due to instrumental album. The next one was Super Tecmo Bow by Boldy James and The Alchemist. This one was on here just because it missed. I did not like this album. I think this is this is definitely bottom five Alchemist albums for me. I did not enjoy this album. I was happy going into it because the cover art looked amazing. This album was this album was just not good. One of the Alchemist's worser works, and I don't listen to much Baldy James, but I will say it was one of his worser jobs as well. Next was The Great Escape by Larry June and The Alchemist. This one ended up being a 50-50. As you all know, I don't review 50-50 albums. That's why this one ended up on honorable mentions. Next was Days Before 3 by LUCKI. This one, it was more of a miss album for me. I didn't enjoy that much. I think this was the first album I listened to for LUCKI because one of my friends put me onto LUCKI, and I think that's why I put off LUCKI for a while because I didn't enjoy this album. And listening to it for the second time now, I still didn't enjoy this album. But LUCKI does have some other good albums, so I'm happy I'm doing this so I can listen to his other work. Next is Almost There, also by LUCKI. This one, terrible. I did not enjoy this album at all. I remember this album is 26 minutes. This album felt like an hour to me because I just did not enjoy listening to this album. Let's see what's next on DNR. What's next on honorable mentions? Next on honorable mentions is Speeding Bullet to Heaven by Kid Cudi. This is also a rock album. I I wasn't expecting it. Not many people like this album. Music Board very low rated. Album of the year very low rated. I was very confused when listening to this album. Not what I was expecting. I think if Cudi was a rock artist, this album would have been amazing. But he's a rap hip hop type of guy. So it's not something I was expecting. Caught me very off guard when I started listening to it. And it also was an hour 32 minutes. So it was a very, very lengthy album. And lastly is Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen by Kid Cudi. This ended up being a 50-50 album. Just as I said before, I don't review 50-50 albums. So that's why this one ended up on honorable mentions. Now it's time for Standout Albums of the Week. If you don't know what this is, I pick one or two albums that I've listened to throughout the week. And, you know, these are the albums that stood out to me the most. And if you plan to listen to any albums from the video, these two should be the ones you listen. And the first one for this week, Standout Album of the Week, goes to Melt by Not For Radio. So this album was actually, it just barely beat out Bo Jackson for Standout Album of the Week. It was a 50-50, but it came down to which album had more, not misses, but more of a neutral. Melt had one neutral, and Bo Jackson had two neutrals. So by one song is why Melt ended up on here. This album was amazing and perfect everywhere outside of that. If you need the definition of perfect album, I will be pointing directly this way. You would have to be super picky to find any flaws in this album. I hope Maria makes more music under the Not For Radio name, but I hope she still does stick with making music under the Maria's name as well. Great album. I'm happy about the vinyl. I do low-key wish I bought the other version because I bought the I forgot the name of it, but it's the one where it's like half green, half white. It does not look that good in person. I don't like it. I accidentally pressed stop recording when it's one segment. My fault. But the second standout album of the week is Passion, Pain, and Demon Slayin by Kid Cudi. This album had zero misses for me, zero neutrals, none of that. This album was beautiful. I added it to my want list for vinyls. And if you have never heard of Kid Cudi album, this would be perfect place to start. The production, the beats, the lyrics, everything about this album, put it here for this week, and it deserves to be on standout albums of the week for this week. Beautiful album, amazing. I wish I knew of Kid Cudi sooner, but I think when he released this, I was 13. I'm 18. I turned 19 in 2 weeks, right? This was released 2020, right? I'm not confusing this album. No, this was released 2016. I was not 13. How old was I? 10. 10. Damn, I was 10 and oh my god. I turn 20 next year. Oh my gosh. Damn, this album made me feel old. But this album was amazing. This deserved to be on here, and hopefully hopefully one day I'll have a good amount of money to spend so I can buy the vinyl. This is a perfect album. And yeah, those are the two standout albums of this week. And yeah, that is it. It's done. The video is done. Yeah, Time, what I have to say. There's not much. This week I put hard to finish it. I think Tuesday after I uploaded the video, I listened to the 5 Alchemist albums. Then the day after, I listened to 3 LUCKI, 2 Don Toliver. And then I listened to the Tame Impala album, to Tycoon. Then I listened to 2 Kid Cudi albums Friday. Right? Yeah, 2 Kid Cudi albums Friday. And then yesterday, today I listened to the Man on the Moon 3 and Melt. Sure, the safety net is what's saving me, but that's the point of the safety net. I'm on time. I did it. Right? So for the Alchemist, we should be finishing him up in like 2 weeks, right? Because this week I plan to get him to 35 albums heard, 35 of 41. He is releasing a new album on November 7th, so I'll be super happy. So my goal right now is to finish the Alchemist before his new album drops, because then that way I can put him on, what's it called? Damn, I'm dumb. Kind of like what I did with Alfredo too, when I reviewed that. What I do, or the initial listen, then come back with the double review, because The Alchemist deserves a double review. But I've been backed up. But we're catching up, so I'm hoping that by November 7th, I'll be ready and I'll be fully done with The Alchemist. This next week I should be finishing both Kid Cudi and Don Toliver. So after this week, you can expect 2 new artists. And I'm trying to think of anything else. There is not much else for me to say anymore. Make sure to like and subscribe. Just like, you don't need to subscribe if you don't like this video. But just like, that's all I ask. Comment if you want. I never ask people to do that. But yeah, there's not much else for me to say. Check out all my socials down below. Check out Deadbeat if you're interested in any of their products. Hashtag ad. I still don't know. And yeah, there's not much else for me to say. I'll let you guys go. And like always, practice your running man.